Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. This is Miss Mate, and today we will be talking about adding rational expressions. But before we get to adding these rational expressions, we have to remember what they are, what they represent. And even before we get to the rational expressions, let's talk about rational numbers. What are rational numbers? Sometimes it's easier, instead of a definition, to remember what they are by using some examples. I wanted to look at this number, rational numbers. You notice inside the word rational, the word ratio. Ratio is ratio of numbers. So yes, rational numbers are fractions, such as 1 over 2, negative 7, for example, because I can write this as negative 7 over 1. You name it, 5 over 3, negative 101 over 97, etc., etc. These are all examples of rational numbers. Now, rational expressions, they are ratios of polynomials. For example, x plus 1 over x squared minus 2x minus 7 is an example, and you can come up now with your own examples of rational expressions. Okay, let's move on. In order to get to adding rational expressions, let's review some grade 7 stuff, adding rational numbers. For example, I would like to add the numbers 5 over 12 plus 7 over 30. How am I going to do that? I need to look for a common denominator. Sometimes what you guys do, you take the common denominator as the product of 12 and 30, and that gives you 360. Unfortunately, this is a very tedious procedure that I do not recommend. What you want to look for the lowest common multiple. One idea to get the lowest common multiple is to list multiples of 12. 12 is 12, 24, 36, so on and so forth. And then I can do the same thing for 30, 30, 60. What do I notice listing these multiples? I notice that at a certain point, the two multiples are the same, and this is what I call the lowest common multiple, or for my fractions, this will be the common denominator, my common denominator. Okay, having said that, I need to mention that this is not always an easy way listing all the multiples. I am going to show you a trick that you might have seen in elementary school. How can you write 12? 12 can be written as a product of some prime numbers. 12 can be written as 2 times 2 times 3. Is that correct? 4 times 3, 12. That's fine. How about you try to write 30 on your own the same way? If you try to do that, you will notice that 30 can be written as 2 times 3 times 5. All of these numbers are prime factors, prime numbers. Okay, how do I take my lowest common multiple? Lowest common multiple, or my common denominator, it will be given by, I need to consider all the numbers that are, all the factors that are common. Do you see? I see a 2 here, I see a 2 there. It's a common factor. I need to consider it in my common denominator. 3 is also a common. I will consider my 3 right here only once. I also need to consider on my common denominator the factors that are not common. This 2 is this one over here, and this 5 is this 5 over here. The trick is that the ones that are common, I only consider once, not twice. And if I multiply this 2 times 2 times 3 times 5, I get 60. Exactly the answer I got by listing my multiples. Okay, so now that we decided, this procedure is quite important. What I showed you here is going to be this procedure over here is going to be what we will be using for the rational expression. So I would like you to pay attention to this process. Okay, now let's go and let's do together the lowest common let's write the lowest common denominator, and what I can say is that 12 goes into 60 how many times? 5 times. Therefore I'm gonna multiply my first fraction by 5 over 5. Please notice that I say 5 over 5, which is 1, not 5 as you sometimes say. This is the correct way to say it, not this one. And 30 goes into 60 twice, so I'm going to multiply the second one by 2 over 2. Let's see what I get. 5 times 5, that's 25. 7 times 2, that's my 14. So the answer will be 25 plus 14, 39 over 60. That's my answer. Now I'm going to take exactly what I did here and I'm going to apply it to some rational expressions. These are my two rational expressions, x plus 1 over x squared minus 9 minus 2x minus 1 over x squared plus 2x minus 3. Please notice that in between I have a minus, not a plus. So basically I'm going to do subtracting of rational expression, but the procedure is absolutely identical. Now, what was the first thing that I did to find my lowest common multiple? I factored the I factored the denominators there. That's exactly what I'm going to do here. X squared minus 9, grade 10. I'm using the formula a squared minus b squared equals a minus b, a plus b. And I get x minus 3, x plus 3. X squared plus 2x minus 3. How do I factor these? I need two numbers. When I add these numbers, I get a 2. When I multiply these two numbers, I get a negative 3. What are the two numbers? Give me the two numbers. I believe they are 3 and negative 1. 3 plus negative 1, yes, is 2. And 3 times negative 1, yes, that's negative 3. How do I use these numbers? 3 and negative 1, I use them to break down the middle term. Please notice that this 2x is nothing else but 3x minus x, no change there. I group my first two terms. My common factor there is x plus 3 minus, in front of a bracket, x plus 3. So this gives me an x plus 3 times x minus 1. Perfect. Anything else to factor here? No, we factored all the both denominators there. Okay, so let's move on. I'm gonna rewrite my fraction using my factoring. It's gonna be something like that. And now let's see what is common and what is not common. X minus 3 is not common, so I'm going to have it in my common denominator. X plus 3 is common to both these expressions. I'm going to include it in my common denominator, but only once. And then one more thing that I have, x minus 1, not common. I'm going to include it here. So my lowest common denominator is x minus 3, x plus 3, x minus 1. So that means that the first fraction, what am I missing for the first fraction? I have my x minus 3. I have my x plus 3. What am I missing? I am missing an x minus 1 times x minus 1. That's exactly what I did here. I multiply my first fraction by x minus 1 divided by x minus 1. And the second one is I have this, and I am missing x minus 3. Therefore, I multiply my second fraction. I multiply my second fraction by x minus 3, x plus 3. Good. So let's see what happens. From this point on, I'm going to have I'm gonna have x, everything goes over a common denominator, x minus 3, x plus 3, x minus 1. And my first one is x plus 1, x minus 1, minus 2x minus 1, x minus 3. Good. So let's start evaluating here. I'm going to expand my first bracket. Please carefully notice it's x plus 1, x minus 1. That is screaming at me is x squared minus 1 without too much work. And the second one, 2x squared minus x, 2x squared minus x, what am I missing here? Minus 6x plus 3. I hope I got it right. Divided by x minus 3, x plus 3, x minus 1. Last step, let's open the bracket and let's simplify. Let's remove the bracket. So it's going to be an x squared minus 2x squared. It's a minus x squared. I have a negative 7x with a negative in front, plus 7x, minus 1 minus 3, it's going to be minus 4, and over my common denominator, x minus 3, x plus 3, x minus 1. There you go. So that was addition of rational expressions.